everybody, Erica Serwin here from Pink Buckaroo Designs. I've got a really beautiful card for you today featuring two stamp sets, actually three stamp sets. Campology is a stamp set in the annual Stampin' Up! Catalog that has lots of fun camping images. I really am enjoying this stamp set, especially this summer while everybody seems to be camping. And I thought the natural combination, of course, would be the camouflage background stamp. I am going to use Palette Thoughts also, which is right over here, just for this wood grain image right here. All right, for that little plank. All right, so my thoughts when I was making this card was, let's make a sunset. When you're camping, that's one of the things that is really fun, is to sit out and watch the sunset. So we're going to start by making that watercolor sunset. One thing I'm going to do differently this time is I feel like I should stamp these trees a little bit higher. When I was all done with this card, as I looked at it, I thought, you know what, those trees probably should be a little bit higher in the background. So we're going to make sure we do that this time. Okay, let's start with a watercolor. I pulled up some pictures online of sunsets, and the two colors that really stood out to me were Flirty Flamingo and Mango Melody. So that's what I'm going to use. Now, with your ink pads, one thing you can do is squeeze it like this, and you actually get a little palette of color in here. You can see I've done that before. A lot of people don't like to do that, so what you can do is take a clear block like this and make your own little palette. I know sometimes people are uncomfortable making the inside of their ink pad messy. So I thought we'll do that to make sure we don't upset anybody by dirtying up the inside of our ink pads. Now I have taken a piece of watercolor paper, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I've made it just the size of a card front. And I'm gonna, when we're done, when it's dry, I'm gonna take my stitched rectangle die and cut this out. This is not the largest, but this is the second largest, in case you're wondering. All right, so we have new water painters. Stampin' Up! Retired their aqua painters last year, and this is the replacement. I'm really, really happy with these for several reasons. One, they're cheaper. The price point is much lower. Two, you get 3 different painters in here. One is really thin. You've got one that's kind of in the middle, and then this one is my favorite, really wide. Now, I will tell you, full disclosure, when I first got them, I could not figure out how to open them. So if that's you, if you haven't ordered these yet, just know that instead of turning it normally like you would, you turn it counterclockwise like that, backwards. Turn it to the right. Is that counterclockwise? Anyways, it's not to the left like you think. It's backwards. So hopefully that will prevent you from being as frustrated as I was. Now, what I'm going to do is squeeze out the water and just do a full coat of water on my watercolor paper to kind of prime that paper. Then I'm going to start with my Flirty Flamingo, and I'm going to start at the top and just start going down. I want it to be darker at the top than it is the bottom. Okay, and so I'm just going to keep going layer, 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 layer. Now, I'm going to come over here and pick up the mango and just do the same thing from the bottom. You want to make sure that you have water on there. I just squeeze a little bit more water because you want these colors to blend nicely. See, I'm taking the mango all the way up to blend into that Flirty Flamingo. And then you can go back again with a Flirty Flamingo and just kind of keep going up and down with both colors. Now you're going to want to set it aside. It's going to take a good, depending on how much water you use, 10-15 minutes to dry. And if you think your colors aren't vibrant enough, you can do it again. But I was really happy with the way mine came out. And in fact, for the sake of the video, I have one that's already ready. I didn't mention I taped it down to a piece of chipboard, just using painter's tape. You can also use washi tape. It keeps your paper flat. One word of caution, be careful when you pull your tape up. It might rip your cardstock. But anyway, I have one that's dry, so we can go ahead and move on to the project. Luckily, that tear will not be a problem because I made my paper purposely made it bigger than that die so that if I had any, I knew when I peeled the paper off, I would have an edge anyway. So I wanted to give myself a little wiggle room. All right, so I'm going to put that die over here. Like that. Like that. Cut it out. The watercolor paper is pretty thick, so I'm going to go through twice to make sure that it cut through really well. Yep, perfect. Oh, a little bit stuck there. That's all right. We'll trim that off. All right. Now, let's do those trees. The tree image is from the Campology stamp set. And I decided that the best option would be to use my Stamparatus because I wanted the trees to be really dark. You know, sometimes when you stamp something on watercolor paper because of the texture, it's not quite as dark or solid of an image as you want. So this way I can ink it and stamp it several times to get a really dark image. Okay, let's use our magnets and make sure we're straight. I'm going to hold this down with the magnets. And like I said, when I stamped it, I made my trees really low because I wasn't really totally sure what I was going to do with this card. But this time I know I need to take them up a little bit higher. So we'll just move it off a little bit like that. Put down your plate. Then let's get our ink. I'm going to put, you can put a stamp case underneath that to keep that level. All right, we're going to do Mossy Meadow. That's also the color of my background stamp. I mean my card base where we're going to do the background stamp. All right, Mossy Meadow, ink it really well. Stamp. See how it's light? Not dark enough. Stamp again. Let's see if we need to do it a third time. Yep, I think so. I really wanted it to look dark, almost like a silhouette shadow, almost black, but not quite. Perfect. Okay, now grab your chamois, clean your stamp really well. And we're going to do a little bit on this side too. So I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to need to move that and put that tree over like that. And now we're just going to repeat and do the same thing 3 times. 1, 2, and 3. Now, depending on how juicy your stamp pad is, you may only need to do that twice. All right, perfect. Now, while we have this over here, let's go ahead and do the background. We're going to do this card front, and I'm stamping the whole card front. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically be stamping it upside down just so that I have room to put my, if I closed it completely, I could not put the magnets down to hold it. So I'm going to, this is the card front, so it's upside down, but because our image, it doesn't really matter if it's upside down or not. That's how I'm going to stamp it. All right, so lay your camouflage background stamp. You know, I feel like that's a little bit too high. Let's pull it down. All right, lay that on there. Take your plate, pick it up. All right, now again, we're probably going to need at least 2 passes with this. When I stamp on colored cardstock with a background stamp, I always find that you don't quite get that solid image like you would on Whisper White the first try. Okay. There, ooh, that's pretty good. There's 1. And 1 more will be good. Now I have to say, on this card, when I was making it, I had started with Old Olive as the card base. And my daughter came in and she said, "That's so cute." And I said, "What do you think?" And she said, "You know, I think maybe a darker green would be better." And sure enough, she was right. I changed it to Mossy Meadow cardstock, and it was so much better. She is going to be an art major next year when she goes to college, so she's always good at those suggestions. All right, so we're going to take the watercolor paper that we stamped and washed with watercolor, and I'm going to pop this up on my card base, and I'm going to do that with some foam adhesive sheets. This is, our new foam adhesive sheets are kind of like giant dimensionals. And if you've been around me for a while, you know I love dimensionals. This card's going to have a lot of dimension. But I just like these because it's easier than putting a bunch of dimensionals on there. Okay. Isn't that pretty? Isn't that striking? That color, it pops off that dark green. All right, now let's do the other pieces. We're going to stamp that palette in soft suede ink on soft suede cardstock. Just like that. Okay. And we're going to make that little lantern. Now, I really went back and forth with how I was going to do this lantern. And I decided to make it kind of antique-y. This is new brushed metal cardstock. It's in the new upcoming holiday catalog, and it comes in a couple of colors. I can't remember quite the details, but there's several sheets in there, and it's really pretty. It's kind of like a foil, but it has some... it looks like a dragged technique. If you were a painter and you did that dragging, that's what it looks like. So I'm going to stamp this old lantern in Versamark on the brushed metal. Okay, and I'm going to emboss it in gold embossing powder. Oops, we need to get a little bit more in there. All right, good. Now, notice also that I'm going to stamp it also on mango cardstock and just cut out that center to give us that lighted effect, that lit effect. Okay, so again with a Versamark and the gold embossing powder. Now this one I don't have to worry about, just the center, making sure that the center is good. All right, heat tool. Give it about 10 seconds to get that the right temperature, and you will see as soon as that heat tool heats up, your powder will start to turn kind of liquid. Hopefully you can see that on the video. It's quite magical. There we go. Let's do this one. Gonna hold that down. Watch your fingers on these, you guys. There we go. It's turning very shiny. All right, and I'm not going to worry about the rest of it because we just need that center. Okay, so now grab your scissors. No dies for these. Don't worry. Just go around the outside. And this handle is going to give us a little bit of a challenge, but I'm going to show you how I did it. All right, go all the way around. Like that. Now, we want the handle to be open, right? So what we're going to have to do is cut through and around. Now go slow so that you don't cut off the handle. Okay, stop right there. Now go around. Don't worry too much about being perfect with your fussy cutting on this because it's very gold on gold. It's going to be hard for anybody to see any little mistakes that you make. All right, carefully pull that out. Now, when we adhere it, I'm going to make sure, and you know what, let's go ahead and do it right now. I'm going to get a little glue dot, and I'm just going to put that down just a little bit further and set that glue dot right there, okay? All right, now let's cut out the center, the little, where the light is. And there we go. Now I'm going to take just a little liquid glue. Whoops, that's a little more than a little. Came out quickly. And I'm going to put this, let's see, let me see, how does it go? Like this, right there. Now, because I can't leave well enough alone, we got to make that light shine with some Wink of Stella. Now, of course, you probably should wait for it to dry, but I'm going to make it shiny. There we go. All right, now let's stamp our sentiment, and we're going to use a new punch called the Banner Pick-a-Punch to make this banner end. All right, let's see. I'm going to pull it down a little bit so I can see it. Hopefully I can get this right on there. There we go. Now, my Banner Pick-a-Punch has run away. Here it is. It's over on the other tray, you guys. I have 2 other projects for Campology. Actually, I have 3 other projects. See how I'm putting this in and looking at the back? Making sure it's centered and punching. Flip it over and slide it in and punch. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I think I can do a better job centering that. Let's try that again. We'll see. That's why cardstock has 2 sides. There we go. I like that better. All right, grab your palette, your wood palette, and we're just going to cut off one of the boards. You can see how there's like 3 boards there. So we're just going to cut off one, and let's cut the ends at an angle, and we are ready to layer everything up. Again, this time we're going to use regular dimensionals, and let's see how these trees look. If they are better. Yep, that is much better, isn't it? Okay, and then our lantern. Whoops, kind of like that. And our sentiment, we probably are going to need many dimensionals, which I don't have. So let's make our own little dimensional strip. Okay. There you go. Now, one last thing. There's some new ribbon coming out in the holiday catalog, and it's called the Basket Weave and Metallic Ribbon. There's another roll that's in this pack, but I liked this. I think that this matches that brushed metallic cardstock really well. So we're going to add this bow here. Okay, well, it's just giving me problems. It says you're at the end of your video, so let's cause some problems. There we go. All right, cut your ends off. That one's a little bit too long, isn't it? And a glue dot. And we're going to put that right there on the handle. And there you have it. A really fun, sweet card. I think that would be a good masculine card or just a card for a friend. All right, you guys, make sure you click the link here on YouTube. Go over, there's a PDF on my blog that's got all the supplies and any measurements that you need, as well as 2 other Campology projects. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.